Out of a study of 5,000 unemployed Americans across geos, across demos, we found that only 15%, knowing what they know about AI today, would actually reapply to a 4-year university. We found that only 6% during unemployment have tried to upskill or reskill during that time. And over half have said AI is a new norm. So these are pretty stark numbers this early on, and I think the evolution of AI.
So talk to us about, I guess, from your survey and from other work you've done, how do you think AI is going to impact the workforce? Like, I've been of the public opinion on these airways that I think it's going to be a net destroyer of jobs, at least in this near to intermediate term. I can't think too far beyond that, but how do you guys think about it?
It's really hard to disagree with you there, Paul. I think in the long run, we'll see AI being a job creator. Okay. And the reason why I think so is we've seen technologies destroy jobs, and we've seen entire new industries come about. So my co-founder in this business, Frank D'Souza, also co-founded Cognizant, large Fortune 500 company today. If you go to the Cognizant's website and you look at the services tab of what they provide, and you rewind back to 1994, virtually none of those jobs or none of those services existed in 1994. And so I think there's still a lot of ways for this to play out. And so over time, I think it's going to create a lot of jobs. But at the same time, I think you're right, Paul. In the short run, there's going to be a lot of pain.
I always joke that in the first few years of my investment banking career, as I think about all the tasks I had to do, pretty much everything can be done by AI.
Yeah, and that's why it's so difficult for young people, especially those who recently graduated from college, maybe have a lot of student debt to pay off, and need to find their first job. How would you advise, I don't know that advise is the right word, but how would you recommend they go about thinking about their career search now?
That is such a tough question to answer, because I would say virtually every meeting I've had, that is number one question from not only college students themselves, but also executives who have kids themselves. What should my kids study? I was actually just with the CEO of a household brand yesterday, and we were having the same discussion. So instead of pushing his daughter through traditionally maybe computer science or engineering, he's been pushing her towards saying, hey, explore the humanities. Like, think about decision making. Think about industries where you have to interact with people all day long and you have to have these judgment calls. And so that's a theme that I'm really hearing these days. And it's been interesting, you know, and even if you harken back to a time, even when I was in college, you could not convince me that this thing called social media would be as big as it is today. Nor could you convince me back in the 90s that actually social media manager would be a full-time and ubiquitous job. But here we are, 20, 30 years later, it's a whole industry. And so that's what I'm talking about, Paul, in terms of net creation.
It's amazing. And, you know, I have 4 kids in the workforce, and just 3 or 4 years ago, the cool thing or the smart thing to do, no matter what your major was, assuming you were an engineer, is to learn some coding languages on the side. Do it on your own.
I remember that.
Via YouTube.
The boot camps, all of that.
Now that's totally flipped. Now it's all about AI. But what I'm observing is kids in college, kids in high school, they are AI experts in usage. I mean, they don't do AI. It's part of who they are. It's
fully integrated.
It's fully integrated into their life.
Paul,
instantly.
You know, what was so interesting about what you just said is that what you just mentioned happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now the conversation has totally changed already. Yep. So I really think, you know, over the last 50 years, it became less and less common for someone to be at the same company for the 50 years of their career. I really think in this next 50 years, it'll be very rare for someone to be in the same industry for 50 years. So reskilling, upskilling, being nimble on your feet, I think will be critical.
Yeah.
So knowing all this and seeing the results of your survey, how do you think about what companies can do to help their employees, what policymakers can do to make sure that the workforce is better prepared?
Yeah, I think reskilling and upskilling has always been this.
With what skills, though?
Exactly. With this being able to not only, of course, be very proficient with AI, but more importantly, being very focused on being at a level and being able to make decisions and to interact with the AI in a sense that you're not programming the AI, but at the same time, you're actually directing it what to do. So instead of fighting AI, being able to direct it, I think it's the number one thing that folks have to learn how to do.
And what I learned, again, from this group of students I was talking with, the skill now, at least at this point, is being able to ask the good questions so that you get the right response.
We're finding
AI.
your prompts.
Yes, and who's the better prompter? Oh, you're the AI guy on this story, you know, on whatever we're doing. I don't know.
You know, another thing that came out in the survey is this imbalance of where the jobs are these days. So you have entire industries cratering in real time, and you have entire industries just on fire. So meaning that entry-level software engineering, it's really tough to find a job these days. But if you're suddenly a forward deployed engineer, a little twist on it, suddenly you're so much in demand. And so these companies are struggling because they're cutting jobs, as you guys have reported on before, but they're not reputationally kind of intact to be able to get these in demand talent to come back on the other side of the funnel.